Everyone. I'm here to walk you through the Unit 8 radicals practice that I gave you guys for day 5. So I just want to make sure that everybody is understanding how to do all of the different radical operations. So we're going to do the first 10 questions together. So number 1, I want to simplify 3 radical 128. So remember that my 3 is going to come down, and I want to break down my radical 128. Now, if I'm not so great with simplifying radicals, I could go to y equals and do 128 divide by x. And when I go to my table, I'm looking for the biggest perfect square that goes into 128. So I see right there that 2 times 64. So this would be radical 64 times radical 2. Now I want to know which one's perfect. There's the square root of 64 is 8. So 3 times 8, radical 2. It's going to give me 24 radical 2. All right, number 2. So I'm going to deal with each of these separately. So I've got my square root of 32, which I know is 16 times 2. My x to the 6th is a nice even power, so I'm going to leave that as x to the 6th. Now my y to the 11th is an odd power, so I'm going to turn that into y to the 10th and y. All right, so the ones that are perfect are all of the ones that are perfect squares or have an even exponent power. So I have a 4, an x to the 3rd, a y to the 5th, and then the 2 and the y remains under the radical. Number 3, I want to add these together. So remember, when I'm adding, they have to have a common radical. So this is really 1 radical 5 plus 6 radical 5. That's 7 radical 5. Now, if I'm subtracting and they don't have a like radical, I have to try to simplify it to see if maybe they do. So I'm going to simplify radical 18 into 9 times 2, the 9 being perfect. So 12 times 3 radical 2, so 36 radical 2, minus that 5 radical 2. 36 minus 5 is going to give me 31 radical 2. Number 5. All right, so when I'm multiplying, multiply the outside numbers, multiply the inside numbers. So 2 times negative 4, negative 8. 6 times 2 gives me the square root of 12. Now I want to break down my 12. So that's going to be the square root of 4 times 3. Square root of 4, we know, is 2. So this is going to give me negative 16 radical 3. Number 6. So number 6, I'm squaring the following. So when I see that exponent of 2, that's going to give me 3 radical 6 times 3 radical 6. Multiplying my outside numbers and my inside numbers, I get 9 radical 36. Now 36 is a perfect square. So this is really just 9 times 6, which is 54. Number 7, I want to multiply. So what I want to do with that 5 there is I want to distribute. Okay, so 5 times 3 gives me 15. Now when I multiply the 5 times the 2 radical 2, all I'm doing is multiplying the 5 times the 2 to get 10, and that radical 2 stays alone. Number 8. Okay, so if things divide nicely, right, so like 3 over 15 divides nicely, right, that's 1 over 5. And 35 divided by 5, it's going to give me radical 7. So 1/5 radical 7. Now number 9, notice it doesn't divide nicely. So what we have to do is we have to rationalize the denominator. So I multiply by radical 7 over radical 7, right, whatever that is. Because I know if I multiply radical 7 times radical 7, that's the square root of 49, which is 7. 12 times 7. 12 times 7 is going to give me 84, so the square root of 84. So let's see, does 84 have any perfect square factors? So 84 divided by x. Whoops. Try that again. 84 divided by x. Let's go to our table. And I'm looking for a perfect square. And the biggest one I seem to see is 4 times 21. Yep, that's what I'm going to go with. All right, so this is going to be the square root of 4 times the square root of 21. And the square root of 4 is 2. So 2 radical 21 over 7. All right, and number 10, right, our last one. Okay, also, we've got to rationalize this denominator. So remember, to rationalize in this one, we are going to multiply what we call the conjugate. So I'm going to multiply this by 3 plus radical 2. 3 plus radical 2. All right, so I'm going to distribute. So on the top, I'm going to get 15 plus 5 radical 2. And on the bottom, I'm double distributing. So 3 times 3 gives me 9, plus 3 radical 2, minus 3 radical 2, minus the square root of 4. Now the square root of 4, though, is really just 2. And these two in the middle are the same value, one positive, one negative. They're going to cancel. So I now have 15 plus 5 radical 2 all over 9 minus 2, which is 7. And that's my answer. All right, if you have any more questions, let me know, and I'll see you soon.